Hi, I'm gonna do some AA videos because, well, it's something I know about and a little bit about, and it's it it helps out a lot of people. It brings out a lot of people back from the edge of death. Um, and it doesn't save everybody because I've definitely been to some funerals for people that could not stop drinking and drank themselves to death. Um, More people drink themselves to death in this country than you could imagine. They never put the cause of death down on the death certificate as alcoholism. They whatever it was, liver exploded, heart exploded, heart failure, whatever the medical thing is. But they don't do the math and uh, back engineer it. So um, anyway, I I have a hard time staying on the topic. So I guess this topic's going to be about if you're new. If you're new, there's many reasons that might bring you to the doors of AA. They say everybody comes to AA with a back problem. They want to get their wife off their back, their boss off their back, and the IRS off their back, or whoever it is. Um, some people have just decided that the problems from drinking are so great that it has to stop, but they can't stop. They can't stop. And most people can't stop on their own. If you can, that's fine. If you can't, this is the prescribed method. A lot of people are against it, but I don't give a shit about that. The bottom line is, I've tried everything before going to AA. That's the last thing in the world I wanted to do was be an AA member. Because it's embarrassing. Well, it was embarrassing. Actually, nothing is embarrassing to me. I don't really give a flying crap what anybody thinks. Pretty much never have, but some people find it embarrassing. And yeah, you can try lots of other things, and if you think you can maybe control it, try to control it. For God's sakes, go into a bar, have a few drinks, see if you can walk out uh, safely. The thing I noticed that I find in common with everybody just about that I meet at meetings is that once I start drinking, I cannot tell you what's going to happen. I don't know. I've been sober for a number of years, but I know I could go out and I'd get a 12 pack. Yeah. Why buy a 6 pack? Get a 12 pack. And I would have probably a good time. I'd probably drink about 8 or 9. And then I'd go out. I want to go out and see the town now. And I'd probably meet some women, uh, which is, you know, can't beat drunken women, especially when you're drunk. And that would go on for probably a week or so. And then I would end up somehow locked up in a mental hospital or jail, and I would lose all my credibility with my family and people who've come to trust me, and I would lose all of my rights because I'd be locked up, and they wouldn't let me out because they don't let you out. I want to go home now. You ain't going home. Hopefully, he didn't kill anybody or anything like that. So anyway, if it's got bad enough and you showed up, there's a lot of things that could happen. You could go to your first meeting, and all you could think is that everybody in this room is an asshole. It is a possibility that you went to a meeting where everybody in the room is an asshole. And it's a meeting of people who like to be with their own kind, other assholes. So that's not the meeting for you. Keep in mind there are thousands and millions of meetings everywhere. go online for your area and find the district, and there'll be a schedule of meetings. There's hundreds and thousands. There's clubs that have meetings. People say, "Oh, don't go to clubs." It's you can't. If you find a meeting that you leave, if you leave with the feeling of hope, that's one you want to go back to. And keep in mind, it's AA. Okay, so here's a couple things that you need to know for sure. AA, well, AA is a cult. Everybody seems to be thinking that. It's free. AA is free. Cults are not free. Everybody isn't wearing Adidas shoes and sleeping in bunks and signing over all their life savings. It's free. And it's anonymous. No one knows where you live. No one needs to know what you do for a living. They don't even need to know your name. You can say, "Hi, my name is John Rambo. I'm an alcoholic." Actually, I heard a guy do that yesterday. It was beautiful. Someone said, hey. And no, it's anonymous. You don't have to give your name. But there's different traditions at different meetings that have popped up over the years. There are no rules. There is a requirement to attend the meeting. You need to have a desire to stop drinking. And to make things easier on yourself, if it's your first meeting, they might tell you, "Hey, we're going to have a first step meeting for you, and we're going to go around the room and tell our stories and all this other yibbity-yabbity." And of course, you don't know what a first step meeting means, but they say it anyway. And you get the gist by the end. But still, what is the first step? And a lot of these guys just don't think that you don't know anything. So you're going to have to be confused about some stuff. But the first step meeting, at the places that have them, are people that talk about what brought them to AA. And hopefully you'll be able to relate and go, "Oh, geez, you know what? That's why I'm here too. I must be in the right place." Because you can talk to your family about it, and why don't you stop? Why can't you just stop for her? Why can't you? They don't understand. They don't get it. They have no idea what it's like because they don't have the problem. I got people in my family to this day will swear he is not an alcoholic. Yeah, well, tell that to the frickin' mental ward and the tent I lived in for 6 months. It was a little longer than 6 months. I actually liked living in the tent, but it's not practical when you have a family. So anyway, you get to the meeting and you sit down and they go around the room and they ask at first, "Is this anybody's first time here? Anybody's first meeting in life?" I used to say it was my first meeting in life all the time because they give you normally a free book. I had a trunk full of free books. I wouldn't recommend that. I don't know. It's just not nice. It was pretty funny though. And they give you a bunch of phone numbers usually. Use the numbers. Yeah, like I'm going to call a bunch of frickin' strangers out and, "Hi, this is Jim from Thursday." If it does occur to you to do that, these people will talk to you. What would suck is if you called and they're like, "Who is this? What do you want? Why are you calling me?" You tell them you're from AA and you think you're going to drink. If you can't get through to anybody worth talking to, just look up the AA office in your town and call them. They'll talk to you and get you through it. So anyway, you get to your first meeting and sometimes there's these guys. There's a thing called a sponsor, and people have different ideas of what that means. It's somebody to help you do AA. AA is basically a book club. We have a book. It's about this thick, and it explains how to get sober. And why is it so thick? Well, the getting sober part isn't the big deal, really. They say keep coming back until the miracle happens to you. Or they tell you don't drink and go to meetings. And I'd say for about the first, for me, it's different for everybody, but for me and a lot of guys I've talked to, about 2 months in, going to meetings every day or every other day or whatever it is, or 3 meetings a day, all of a sudden out of nowhere, back of your head, a brick hits you, and you go, wait a minute, I haven't drank in 60 days. How is that possible? I tried so hard before, and now I got 60 days and I haven't drank. Um, and ask around. They'll tell you, well, God's keeping us sober. Obviously, He's taking you along for the ride. Um, People will tell you you got to find a God. That scares a lot of guys. I thought for sure I was going to hell, where I was going to get burned over and over and over for eternity for the stuff I did while I was drinking, because those are the rules of my religion. And I found out that the key, you got to have a God in AA. There's atheists in AA, but God keeps them sober too, so it's whatever. You can call yourself whatever you want. It'll upset a few people, but they'll get over it. And if they don't get over it, go to a different meeting where they're not at. Or tell them shut up. Or tell them to call me. I'll tell them to shut up. Anyway, I've read the literature. Become a student of this thing. For sure. God, I was trying to give some advice for new people. So there's these guys that'll come up to you with a gleam in their eye. Hey, do you have a sponsor? Most alcoholics are of above average intelligence. It's a fact. It's written in the book, and if you look around, some of them got suits on, some of them are dressed up with a Spider-Man t-shirt. I got a closet full of suits, but I want to wear my Spider-Man t-shirt today. I haven't shaved. And they get this gleam in their eye. And, I have more than common sense. You have to be a sharp character to pull off drinking yourself close to death and surviving all this time. But yeah, usually higher than average. And there's some psychopaths. So you know what a psychopath looks like, and you can smell one from a mile away. Don't get a psychopath sponsor. If it looks like a psychopath, although he might seem charismatic, or a sociopath, or something with a path, you don't want it. If you want to get a sponsor because you want someone that you can go, hey man, this is what's going on. Is this right or is this wrong, or what do I do with this? How does this work? You need someone that's read the book and has studied the book and works with another guy. And the sponsor thing is freaky because to me it seemed like asking someone out on a prom date. Will you be my sponsor? And that's not what it's about. And it's not about some psychopath controlling my life or telling me, you're controlling my life, telling me, no, you have to divorce that bitch. I had a sponsor told me that one time. It didn't matter. She divorced me, but he's drunk now, actually. A good guy. But you stick around, and a miracle will happen. Call it what you want. Oh, and the thing about God, I bounce around from thing to thing, and I can't help it. It's a God of your understanding. You get to pick your own God. I unpicked the burn me in hell God because I don't believe there's a God like that anyway. What kind of God would burn people? He gives you a second chance. He gives you a third chance. He not only loves you, which I don't like that word, but it is what it is. Or it is what I think it is. I don't know. He likes me. So people that like it don't want to burn you. And the only requirements for a God in the AA program that I can see is it's an all-forgiving, all-loving God that cares about you. And that's the kind of God I can handle that. So it can look like whatever you want, and it's your personal conception. So when they say God, don't flash back to the God of thunder that you grew up with kneeling on hard boards and getting up and down and doing all sorts of rituals. It's not the ritualistic God of the churches. Although AA encourages you to return back to your religion once you've gotten your senses back. Whether you think you've lost your senses or not. You're at an AA meeting, okay? You something's up. If you want to, or pick a different one. The Methodists are very nice. I'm not Methodist, but I'm just very friendly. But yeah, do whatever religion you want to do if you want to. If not, AA is a belief system. It doesn't cost any money. Oh, nobody's in charge. Nobody. That's the other thing as a new guy. People are supposed to speak of what they know only. They're supposed to share their experience, strength, and hope are the words they use. And people inevitably don't do that sometimes. They go, if you want to stay sober, you gotta, you better, and you need to, and you should, and you have to. That's not experience, strength, and hope. That's somebody who, if you're new, you might think is speaking on behalf of AA. Nobody speaks on behalf of AA. That's a psychopath or a guy having a bad day. Shooting his mouth off because he's having a temporary lapse of reason. Nobody tells you what to do. They can, but you just don't pay attention to them. And if there's several people in the room doing it, don't go back there. That's all. Do not go back. You want a kind and loving, forgiving God and a kind and loving, forgiving group of people. And a lot of guys don't agree with that. No, you need to straighten these guys out and sit them down and explain. You know, I had to take, it's a journey, and it took me years to get where I'm at today. And sitting me down when I was 23 and showed up people did that to me. I've been through every scenario. It didn't do anything because I needed to be ready to understand what I understood at the time. And everyone in AA has a right to be sick and has a right to be at the place they're at. So, anyway, you pick up a little something in one of these meetings that clicks in your head. And if you feel when you leave like a little bit of weight came off your shoulders, that's a significant spiritual experience, whether you like it or not. Something happened. And it wasn't a physical thing. If you feel a shift, there's something there for you. And that's the beginning of the miracle. And not everybody does. So don't feel bad if you don't get that, because there's the educational variety of the spiritual experience. And over a period of time of listening to this stuff, listen, you've been brainwashed for years with liquor and reasons to keep drinking and on and on and on, and excuses and manipulations and lies to get to the... I mean, I wouldn't go to a party, and this may not be you, but for me, if it wasn't going to be some people that were drinking the way I was drinking, I wasn't going to go. You want to go out for a beer and then leave? No, I want to sit down and, pull up a stool and, let's get... I don't see the point of drinking unless you're going to get drunk and feel the beautiful feeling and release from alcohol. Oh, it's awesome. Except when it turns on you, which is why people come to AA. So anyway, you need to get a copy of the book. If you don't want to read it, that's okay. You can get it online. There's a really great website. It's called, what the hell is it called? Silkworth.net. I don't speak on behalf of them at all, whoever they are. It's SILCKWORTH.net, N-E-T. And they have, or you can just type in audio AA Big Book. It's called the Big Book because it's a big book. You can download it and listen to it in the car. You don't have to read it anymore. But it's like Mark Twain. Every time you read it, you find something different. And there's the 12 and 12. That's our other major book. If you're having a bad day, read Step 11 and the 12 and 12. There's probably 1 million people across the globe that would be like, "Why would you say that?" Because someone told me to do it every time I had a bad day, and it did the trick. So anyway, I'm gonna do a few of these when it occurs to me. Say you're an alcoholic. That'll get you through the people wondering if you are or not. If you think you are, you just say, "I'm Jim, I'm an alcoholic." Or, "I'm Jim, I have a desire to stop drinking." Or, "I think I might have a drinking problem." Or wherever you're really at, if you want to be completely honest. Look for a sponsor who doesn't seem like a lunatic. If you're trying to save your marriage, don't pick a sponsor who's been married 6 times. I mean, it's just a little common sense. Just because you're all washed up as far as you know as a human being, which you're not. That's the other thing. People come in with no hope. I got, 20 grand in debt. My wife's going to leave me and I might lose my job. Well, you might lose your job and your wife might leave you and you might be 20 grand in debt. But there is hope for every single one of those problems. And they will all work out. They certainly won't get better if you keep drinking. This is mathematically pretty easy to understand. And I got the answers to all these problems, actually. But sometimes they're hard to grasp and wrap around. 20 grand in debt, you could always file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. No debt. A lot of people would say, "Oh my God, you don't do that in AA." Oh, it's bullshit. There's a law in the United States set up so you don't go to prison for being in debt. And you don't deserve to make yourself suffer over it. You get a chance to start over. The country was founded by people getting away from the English who wouldn't let you practice your own religion and sent you to Australia to the debtors' colony if you owed money and couldn't pay. They sent you away. And they didn't want that happening anymore either, so they put a law in there. There's a stigma about it because, well, only amongst the middle class and poor. The wealthy do it on a regular basis. The Clintons have filed, check any politician's records on BKs. They've all done it. Wealthy people do it all the time. It's a business maneuver. It's a business maneuver that you can easily use. Most of these lawyers will take a very small deposit, and as soon as you give them the deposit, they'll send a letter out to everybody that owes you money, and it's a federal offense for them to even call you. They can't even call you. And if they do say, "Listen, I got an automatic stay," they'll tell you what to say. They'll never call you again. Or lie. Tell them you got an automatic stay. You guys should have gotten a copy of it. Please don't call me again. You don't want to do that, but you could. Get them off your back real quick. The wife, she might have had enough. She probably has. I mean, it took me, it's still taking me. I'm still realizing stuff I did to my wife, or ex-wife. But I talk to her every day, and I'm a hard person to live with. I'm a character. But bottom line, nobody's in charge of what a relationship is supposed to be like. 90% of marriages fail. But as far as relationships go, nobody's... I mean, we look at Hallmark and... who's that artist that... Norman Rockwell. None of that stuff's realistic, man. That stuff ain't right. Now, if your wife is sleeping with the crackhead next door, now that might be a problem. You might need to get away from that. I'm not going to say you need to, but I mean, you need to get away from that. Huge, because that ain't going to help you. Bottom line is you got to get sober first. First and foremost, You can put the wife on hold. You can put the job on hold. You can get on public welfare aid. You can live in a halfway house. There's a million ways to get out of everything. And if it's unacceptable for you to try and do something completely different just to save your life, then maybe you're not ready. That's another idea. But you got to be ready for this thing. And you got to be willing to go to any length. And any length is any length. So that's why I'm saying there's a way out of this. Well, I don't have any place to live. Well, you can get into a halfway house. They don't charge anything to get in there. You'll eventually have to pay them something, but they're usually cool about it. And you have to takes a few days to get in there or a week. You got to keep calling them, and it's just part of their does this guy really want to get in here deal. And so you'll be off the street. There's places you can sleep. They got pads in Illinois. You sleep in a church on a cot, and they give you a bowl of soup. I mean, there's ways out of everything. There's no reason to sleep in the snow, unless you want to. But you could freeze to death. So make sure you have a good sleeping bag and proper insulation. And a wife, going to meetings and changing yourself, no matter what she says. These women say all kinds of emotional stuff. And a lot of them get irritated and a little pissed off that all of a sudden Johnny's getting better and she had nothing to do with it because she's been trying to fix you for years. So a lot of them resent AA too. Don't worry about that either. If you really want to be a man about it, and she's not sleeping with the crackhead next door in a dangerous environment to go to, just you could be they sell them at the grocery stores. It's like $3-4. You buy a little thing of flowers and you bring it to her every Friday. You leave it on her doorstep. And you keep doing it until you catch on fire or until she says, hey, you want to come in for a cup of coffee? How's that AA thing working out? Yeah, I'm just saying. You kill them with kindness is the key. So if you're new to AA, you just got to keep going to meetings until you start feeling better. If you've ran out of options, if you've taken all the pills and you've gone to all the doctors and you've tried every other angle in town, give this a shot. And to give it a shot, you need to show up at a few meetings. My situation got ugly, and I found a sponsor that was a good guy, a friend, which is more what you're looking for, because that's all it is. There's egos involved, so you want someone who's more of a friend that's willing to share and willing to be honest with you. And people who don't give out advice, they offer suggestions, and the only thing they can really tell you, the only thing they tell you is what they did in that situation and what happened. And you consider it, and if you get it, you try and do that. So get a sponsor or get someone's number who's been around, and you talk to them on the phone. Hey man, what's going on? Yeah, I'm feeling like I wish I was, whatever. I wish I was buried in a hole somewhere. Whatever it is, make some calls, go to some meetings, and see if something changes. If you feel a change, then expect more of the same. And if you feel hope when you leave a meeting, go back to that one. And I'm sorry for rambling on and on, but I have so much to say about it. But if you've stumbled into AA and you're wondering what it is you've stumbled into, I guess what I was trying to say is it'll stop your drinking fairly quick. So why do we keep going to these meetings, and what is this program all about? It's a program and a design for living, and it's living the best life on the face of the planet Earth. Most people just go through their lives bouncing from thing to thing. We have a corner on the market almost of how to live happy and free from fear, from everything. And you'll hear people say it all the time because it's true. It's the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And I've gone from the highest point of corporate highness to a tent and back and back. And now I can't even explain it. But I'll stop now because I think this has gone on for 30 freaking minutes. It's long enough. It's too long. I was supposed to give you a couple of hints and tricks. I hope I did. But yeah, so good luck to you. And feel free and leave me a message on my YouTube thing if you got a question about something. If I can help you, I will. And God bless you and good luck.